Good morning, my creative friends, and welcome, welcome, welcome. Getting all my tech set up here. So it is day two of the new year already. I want to say thank you again to everyone that joined me live yesterday for the prayer flag and mantra workshop. It was so much fun, and I love seeing how many people that have gone on to watch it. I did upload a video this morning that I made yesterday afternoon of my finished project, and you will find that in the New Year's Mantra and Prayer Flag playlist. It'll take a little while to process, but it is coming. And today I thought it would be fun to kick off year two with the prayer flags and the mantras, and then go right into a vision board. And then I will be back on Thursday morning to talk more about the January project and what our focus is going to be for January. But I know that people love creating vision boards, and I have a very different way of creating them that I wanted to share with you. And I woke up definitely feeling a little congested this morning. So if I'm a little froggy, I apologize. Got a fresh hot cup of coffee. So most of the time when people create vision boards, they're very focused on what they want to do or what they want to have, like the car, the watch, the house. And I have a little bit of that in my images for mine, and I'll share more about that later. And people tend to put a lot of words. I've seen vision boards that are just all words cut out of magazines. My attitude about words is that words are limiters, words are labels, and words don't open us up like images do to expansive and infinite possibility. So I want to invite you to create a different kind of vision board. Doesn't mean you can't also create a traditional one that you also that you always do, that you love to create. But I want you to think a little bit differently this year about creating a vision board. I'll take some coffee here. And I spent so much time yesterday working on my prayer flags. It was such a fun project. And over the weekend, I was cleaning out magazines and gathering some images. Good morning. Thanks for the hearts. Whoever's joining me here live, great to have you. Do pop into the comments and say good morning if you're here. It's always lovely to know. I'm not just talking to myself in the camera. And if you're brand new to Painting in Your PJs live with Minette, welcome. This is our second full year. Good morning, Yvonne, and Happy New Year. And the intention of Painting in Your PJs is really about using art as a way to connect to ourselves. So today we're going to use image to connect to the vision of what it is that we want. And as a soul collage facilitator, since way back in 2012, I'm going to go ahead and switch my camera here. Good morning, Leslie. You're up early this morning. Always lovely to have you with me live. As a soul collage facilitator and mixed media artist, one of the things, there we go. One of the things that I learned was to cut images away from their background and to place them on new backgrounds so that they take on the meaning that's important to us. So the reason I think that images are more important than words is because images capture the feeling and the essence of a vision. Words put a label on it, and we want to create a vision that feels expansive and possible and connects to our own infinite potential. So I'm going to work just in the pages of a journal today, which felt good to me. It's a journal that I'm still in process working on, and so it felt better than having something. I don't have a lot of space on the wall. It's actually hard to hang like posters and things on these concrete walls. I'm going to do mine in a journal, and it doesn't need to be this giant poster board style. So often, vision boards, we think they have to be huge to capture the essence, but they could actually cover multiple pages in a journal. They could be done on like an 11 by 14 sheet of paper, which is probably pretty close to what this is. So step one is to give yourself permission to flip through magazines and just pull out images that speak to you. This is the traditional approach to designing a vision board. Drinking some more of that coffee while it's hot. And the other thing I want you to consider, so if you've been following my channel for a while, you know that we have been talking this last month about some pretty deep prompts from our 118 journal prompts. And I really love these Gerbera daisies, and I'm thinking some of these are going to need to go on my vision board. And I've been thinking about this question of how do I want to feel going into and throughout 2024. And that prompt led me to my personal mantra of I am light. I am light. So when I started pulling images, I started to think about the different categories of my life. And there's some great articles and vision boards and things about how we can actually use principles of feng shui to design a vision board. But as you're thinking about what you're creating for your life this year, I want you to think about, and I'm going to do a little journaling on the page. You could do this on your poster board as well, and then cover it up. And I have my mantra kind of here in the center. And remember, nobody's going to see this but me. It's all going to get covered up. I am mantra, silly Minette. I am light. And I want to think about like the most important areas of my life as I start to design my vision board. Now, granted, this is actually the center and it's going to flow out this way across the 2 pages. It's just a little bit harder to write that way. But as I'm creating my vision board, I want to think about the areas of my life that are important. So for example, we might have an area of our vision board that's about money and finances. We might have an area of our vision board that is about family. We might have an area of our vision board that's about energy and faith. We might have an area of our vision board that's about work and community. And a lot of times we tend to jumble these all up into kind of one big category. But when we spend a little bit of time to really think about what is it that we want in each of these areas, it helps us select images and be a lot more intentional about crafting our vision. But at the center of everything, before we get to what do you want to have, I want you to think about how do you want to feel, who do you want to be, what do you want to do, and then what do you want to have? Because if we start from the inner here, from this level of feeling about how do I want to feel and who do I want to be, it's going to help determine a more values-based and meaningful vision for the coming year. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. That's kind of a lot of heady words to get us started early in the morning, especially for Miss Yvonne over in California. And there's elements and aspects of images that are going to help me communicate this. And I don't know all the images that I pulled because I pulled them over the weekend. I know that nature is very important to me, so I'm going to want to grab a piece of this. I've grabbed a few tissue papers and background things. Also, a vision board does not need to be limited to magazine images. You could draw out, if you love to sketch, you could draw out your vision. If you love mixed media like I do, you could add paint and stamps and stencils to your vision. So if you feel like you don't have everything that you need or don't have easy access to images, there are certainly other ways to create a vision board. Also, for those of you that love to work digitally and don't have access to a lot of printed images, Canva is a great resource for designing a visual vision board. And All right, that ended up in my stash. Maybe that's going to go on there to represent some travel. And I'm going to show you what I mean about sort of cutting images away from their backgrounds rather than just taking whatever's there. And as I'm looking at this page, I can tell right away that these 2 pages are not going to be big enough and that this collage is going to end up flowing over. You can also find images online with Unsplash.com and Pixabay are both great resources to be very intentional about the images that you use. But what I found works best when it comes to creating a vision for your life is the intuitive work of naturally selecting images. And I just loved this person with all of these flowers here and this kind of funky design. And it felt like it was a fun crossover for me between, wanting to have a very inclusive community and my deep love of nature and creativity. And so this figure here really represents community and creativity. And I ended up pulling a lot of images to represent creativity. And even though I love, love, love these flowers in the background, I am cutting this person away from all of these flowers. Doesn't mean I won't use those flowers in other places. So one of the things on my list this year, my daughter gave me new gardening tools and seed packets for Christmas, and I'm definitely very excited about my garden this year, which in Colorado really won't happen till end of May or June before it starts to get warm enough to plant a garden. And when I think about how I want to feel, this is how I want to feel. This woman feels radiant and alive. I love that she's sort of proudly leaning into her older years with her gorgeous flowing gray hair. I also love that she's standing at the beach. I'm definitely ready to have some beach time this year. So I feel like she could be a very central figure. She also feels like she's connecting to spirit and possibility and potential because she's looking up, right? Because she's looking up. This was another image that felt sort of fun and playful. So one of the themes that came up for me was definitely travel. I find I'm often at my most creative when I'm traveling and being inspired in different places. Good morning, Judy. Welcome, welcome. So one of the things that came up for me when I was doing my mantra preparation and journaling and statements yesterday was to be lighthearted. And so I love just the full on laughter. On the face of this woman. Sorry, excuse me, I'm a little froggy this morning. So I'm feeling like community is actually going to get its own page because it feels really important to honor and celebrate and call in the people that I want to call in this year. Good morning, Polly. Welcome, welcome. So if you're just joining us, I did talk for the first few minutes about how I go about designing a vision board based more on areas of my life that feel really important, but especially on how I want to feel and who do I want to be in the new year more than what I want to do or have. That we need to start crafting our vision for our lives from the inside out. And usually people go about creating vision boards from the outside in, right? Or they maybe don't even consider their inner life at all. And because it's New Year's, people are setting, big resolutions. I got to lose weight. I got to get healthy. I got to write the book. I gotta. Instead of simply asking, how do I want to feel and who do I need to become or who do I want to be in this year? So I'm going to give you an example. So I keep saying that I'm going to write my next book. And this picture here for me represents awe and wonder, which is one of the ways that I want to feel. And notice how when I cut these images away from their backgrounds, they take on their own life, their own personality. And I love that. So I love this woman feels like part of my community. I tend to work in my paid programs with people in their 40s all the way to their 70s. And so I want to be able to show that as I'm calling in that community. This was another one that represented staying connected to my inner child and just kind of and also this sweet little doggy on here. This was from a Highlights magazine, which is so full of delightful childlike energy. And again, I'm thinking about my mantra, I am light. I'm thinking about how do I want to feel. And as I'm starting to put down these images, a whole vision of how I want to feel is starting to emerge, that I didn't go into it thinking I need this on there or I need that on there, or I want to create this or create that. It doesn't mean that I'm not committed to fitness and self-care. So one of the parts of my mantra was to be light on my feet and to focus on strength and flexibility and vitality. And I love doing that in community. I especially love doing it with my husband. Good morning, Marion. Welcome, welcome. So again, I'm creating a vision board that focuses on how do I want to feel, not what do I want to have or what do I need to do. And I don't want anything on my vision board that feels like a should, right? That feels like a should. Again, these are images that I feel like connect to the community that I'm calling in, and I feel like that community is going to get a whole page of its own. I decided to work in a journal. I really love having a vision book, and to think about how sometimes a vision board doesn't need to cover the whole year. So from a business perspective, one of the ways that we've been doing our planning for years is in quarters or 90-day increments. So maybe you don't know what you want for this year or don't know where you're going. So then I want you to really think about, what can I do just for these next 3 months that are going to move me in the direction of how I want to feel and who I want to be? A little bit different way of thinking about it. And again, the biggest thing for me, and this is, something that has been a takeaway for a decade now of being a soul collage and journey circles facilitator, is no words or very, very limited words. Because when we start to fill a page with words, words are finite, they're labels, they're limiters, they're not expansive. And so I want to really encourage you to think about, again, how images open us up to possibility. And as always, with all of this, I use my own signature process of writing first, then creating, and then going back and reflecting even more. So I love this image. It almost feels like it's going to be some kind of door or portal into the future. It feels like, again, it's capturing that mantra from yesterday's workshop, I am light. And I know that I don't know what it is about this little king, maybe connecting to energy of leadership. I definitely love all these little hearts. Thank you, Judy. For me, I love having it in a book, especially an active book that I'm working in. You could do a vision spread in your journal on a monthly basis. One of the women in my Midlife Renaissance program does a word of the month instead of just a word of the year, which I really love the energy of that. So this connection to nature, like this right here, could be definitely a soul collage card for me and really captures how I want to feel this year. That sense of light and radiance. Again, this sense of laughter. Also, this one felt really, really important. I'm not sure where this one's going to go, but it's going to go on there somewhere. So also this one of this couple having fun together. My husband and I love to travel and walk. After the live stream yesterday, we went for a beautiful walk at one of our favorite parks, and there were a pair of bald eagles. It looked like they had probably caught a goose. We have so many, literally thousands of Canadian geese here right now, and we're feasting on the frozen lake. And I never get tired of seeing them. I remember growing up, as a kid, they were almost extinct and you never saw them, and now we see them quite frequently here. So I have a lot of images that kind of feel the same, right? And so I also really love this one, like unraveling the threads of my heart feels great. This one I'm holding my heart lightly and tenderly. So these again, it's continuing that vision from yesterday. And then I do have a couple of things in here that really represent some bigger dreams, not only of how do I want to feel, who do I want to become, but what do I want to have? And so this was a really fun one. First of all, I love the desert and I love these big saguaro cactus. And this is a fancy one, but on our dream board, my husband and I would love to have a sprinter van for traveling. And we've kind of toyed with the idea and talked about the idea, and basically it ends up being like buying a second house. And, we had just done that here recently, so it hasn't been in the plan either from a time or money perspective. But I think I want to plant the seeds of that. And I want this awesome cactus picture here. So this feels like what's happening over here is kind of the travel page, and maybe this one over here is more the sort of connection to light and to family. And little inner child love there. And maybe this one is going to flip open a little bit. This one also feels good about just that self-care piece. And maybe this is going to be the page that really is about travel and connection. And when I think about career, I lost my little king image. Where did he go? When I think about career and leadership and sort of self-ownership, right? I think about how, what's important to me is to be the conductor of my own life. And I also have the honor and privilege of conducting various communities online and in person. And again, I'm cutting around, taking the time to fussy cut these images and take them away from their background to create a new story, right? To create a new story. So I'm curious, what are some of the things that might be on other people's vision boards this year when it comes to thinking about how you want to feel and how you want to live? What are you thinking about? I was super intrigued by this fun little image as well of this hourglass, this sense of sort of time is passing by. Looks like there's a mom coming down, or maybe a woman even visiting herself in the past. There's a child in the bed here. So this was an interesting one about the flow of time. And I believe that we always have enough time to do what we need and want to do. I definitely, as an entrepreneur for over 20 years, I started my first business in 2002. I love being the master of my own time, even though I didn't always believe that was possible, and I spent way too much time and energy focused externally on others. I want to bring back that sense of freedom of time. Sorry, those images are super glary this morning. And you can see how fast the page is filling up here and how easy it is to fill pages in a journal or a really large board. And what I want to think about is, what are the most important images here to capture the vision for how I want to feel. I really love this character that feels like there's a big sense of curiosity here, this sense of, reaching into the unknown and the future that feels like potential. I also got a picture of a beautiful little hawk here because it represents my connection to nature. So I'm been very, very intentional about the curation of images. Definitely need some books on my vision board as well. And I think a lot of these other ones are community ones somewhere in here. So the other thing that needs to go on my vision board somewhere, so there's very little here about what do I want to have. This is all very much about who I want to be, how I want to feel. There's a little bit about what I want to do, which is travel, be in control of my own life. But one of my dreams would be to have a beautiful art barn and retreat center. And it's kind of like the camper van. It's kind of that thing in the back of my mind. And I wasn't looking for this image when I was flipping through magazines, but I thought, and then some days, I definitely have those days when I think, oh, it would be way too much work to own a property like that. Do I want to take on a project like that at this stage of my life? And when I realize it's definitely still a part of the dream, and it's a shared dream with my daughter, that there would be, help and ways to do that. So this road over here feels important. So things are really starting to come together. So I'm curious if anyone else, you guys are being quiet this morning, if anyone else has given thought to your vision for the year, for this idea of mystery and enchantment. Yes. And look at the light in the windows, right? So this theme of I am light is also showing up everywhere on this page as well. And it doesn't take a lot of images to really capture. I think when we go about doing vision boards, we tend to get almost greedy with images, right? And we pull, and we paste. And what I'm looking for is to fine tune that vision, So I think a lot of these are more community focused. Like books are a part of my life. I don't know if they need to be on the vision board. I did like this slice of beach here, and maybe we'll get a little bit of beach in here. Um, I also had this nice gardening picture because that's something that's not just, for me, this is not just about what I want to do, which is put in a garden, but how do I want to feel, which is energetic and spacious in time. Um, I want to feel inspired to get out there and dig in my garden. So that felt also like a really key image. There was another cactus. I had this wolf because I love the symbol of the wolf, but I'm thinking the wolf is going to maybe get a card of his own. I had some more maps. Loved this. Felt like adventure and exploration. Want to get into better hiking shape this year. So having a hiking boot right front and center. So I think that's enough for these two pages. And sorry, those images, or let's see if we can just turn this down a little bit. Those images are so glary in the bright light. So, Marion, great, right? Then maybe you don't need to look any further than May for now. Yeah, Judy, I had talked about that at the beginning. So, some options for finding free print magazines, recycle centers, um, libraries often have them. I don't know if where you are, Judy, you have thrift stores, but we have local thrift stores. Like I found a great stash of National Geographics for 99 cents a piece. Asking friends and neighbors that you're close to if they have magazines. And as for online, using Canva to do a digital vision board is an option. And the Unsplash.com and Pixabay.com are two places where you can find images for free. The thing about finding images online is it's harder to do sort of the intuitive part of the process, but they're great for creating something that's very intentional. Secondhand bookstores is another great idea. I use a lot of book images. All right. This little flower with the bumblebee felt important because I do want to be busy and productive, but intentional about that as well. All right. So I have a general plan for where I'm going here. And I definitely want to be able to see that water in there. It feels important to get that element of water in there. So this feels like the do side of things, and this feels like the be side of things, and that feels really good. So, and the boot is kind of that piece in the center, right? It's kind of that piece in the center that kind of moves and holds everything together. So I might actually even just paperclip this boot to the page and let that boot be free to travel around. But I have this general idea of a layout here, and now I have to take it all off to glue it down. So I'm going to take a quick picture of those two pages so that I can remember where I want those images to go once I start gluing. And I think I'm going to start on this page over here. And this is the fun part, is just gluing it down. But as I'm gluing, I'm still pausing to take time to look at each of the images to make sure that the images are the right images are they communicating and really showing me the direction that I'm going? I'm okay leaving things hanging off the edges of pages. Thanks, Yvonne. I think it's useful to have traveling pieces in our collage work. That was something I learned from my friend Leslie, because they don't always find their final spot for a while, right? Okay. Oh, maybe this is gonna go up here. Sometimes you start to hang them, put them down, and you're like, okay, that's not quite enough images, so I want something else underneath the edge of our conductor here. Maybe a little more of this beachy image. And as I start to glue things down, I also find that I start to see different connections and stories. Things start to unfold differently. And the whole point of doing your vision board this way is to let the story emerge. So often we hold on to such tight control of our vision, and it feels very tight and constricted and constrained. But when we can approach it from this energy of openness, right, and curiosity, and what might be possible rather than it has to be this or it has to be that, then magic can happen. But we have to make space for that magic to happen. I'm so in love with this image of this art barn. And it's kind of like my friend Andrea. We both had a very similar dream we discovered of creating some kind of art retreat center, and she wasn't looking and hers found her. And so if I put this on here, I have to stay open to the possibility that it might actually happen. And am I ready for that? So be careful also what you put on your vision board. So this reminds me of a place where my husband and I walk on a regular basis called Devil's Backbone. It's this gorgeous rock formation that looks, the rocks from a distance look like the back of a stegosaurus. They're really beautiful, and there's a big hole in them at the top. So what I'm feeling into here is both this idea of lots of travel, but also feeling sort of grounded and rooted in the space that I'm in. All right, that's the end of that glue stick. And I grabbed a couple of others because I knew that was going to happen. So I like how sort of sticky the Oohoo sticks are. Everyone really loves the Oohoo glue sticks, but I also find that I go through the glue in them really fast. And this one's somehow about the sort of fluidity of time. So it's not about needing this to happen today or tomorrow, but I'm just leaning into possibility, leaning into possibility. And I think I have to lean into some curiosity and wonder here also, right? That childlike believing in dreams and miracles. So I love seeing these pages come together, see where the gaps are. All right, now we're going to come over here to this side, get all the way down to that bottom layer. I have to look up where this is because that looks like a place Brad and I would love to go visit. For Christmas, he bought me a wonderful book on scenic drives in Colorado because we definitely are loving going and exploring this beautiful state that we live in. And again, my intention here was to create these spreads that represent the different parts of my life, that represent how I want to feel, who I want to be, what I want to do, and what I want to have. And oftentimes a vision board starts with what do I want to have or who do I want to be? And we forget about how are we going to get there, right? We got to look at, my husband and I had a long talk about this on our walk yesterday about, having plans and actions is important and support us, but if we don't have the mindset, we're never going to get those actions done, right? So he was talking about his word of the year being consistency. And what I love about that is, if I think about our mantra workshop as someone who is consistent, that's both a mindset and an action taker. Okay, so this tissue, I'm going to put the glue down on my paper first. Because this is just a piece of a napkin and it's fragile. So remember to use scrapbook paper and old book pages and things that you have around in your studio. Children's picture books can be really awesome for any kind of collage work as well. And when I think about like the dream of the barn or the dream of the camper van, when I think about the things that I'm doing and what I'm building, I'm very clear I don't want to do any of this alone, right? That I want to do it in community and with the support of others, that I don't need to be the lone wolf. And I spent so much of my life being that lone wolf. I really want her to have that light. And one of my mentors also taught me a great trick when you're creating a vision board like this. It can be really helpful that somewhere on here you write in your own handwriting this or something better. Because oftentimes the universe, God, creator, has a vision and a plan for us that we can't even imagine and connect to, right? And so this vision is what I can see, but what if there's even something better that I can't even imagine? So yes, I want all of this or something better. I want to stay open to potential and possibility. And then once it's dry, I will come back and trim all of these edges off. But this feels like a really lovely and fairly simple spread here to start off the new year that captures so many elements of how I want to live my life. And what's missing here for me is the part about my business and my community building, but I don't need that to be on the same board. Like I hold all of this very lightly, And what I'm calling in this year is community, right? And so I will create on my own time a second page to go along with this that represents, yeah, and I'm loving this idea of having our traveling boot here. And right here I have this perfect space to write this or something better. In 2024. And that just kind of anchors the whole thing in potential and possibility instead of in this sort of, there's no shoulds on here. There's only dreams and vision and possibility, right? There's things that I want to do. There's things that I want to have. It shows how I want to feel. But there's nothing on here that feels like a chore at all. And I'm loving this boot, and he might just, yeah, the boot definitely feels like it needs to travel. So I will go and find a paper clip that I can use to attach this to the page so that I don't lose it. And the one thing that didn't make it on here, attach a thread to the boot and the top of the page to move about. Yeah, I thought about that, or a brad. I have some brads here, so I could move it about. But I think I want it to be even less permanent than that, is how it feels. So this also still somehow feels important on here as well. And there's something here for me about this theme of holding my own heart lightly. I tend to be someone who takes things very seriously. And I'm thinking this year about how can I hold things more lightly. So this feels like a fun page that really sort of captures the yesterday's mantra. So this one might have I am light added on here to remind me, and I think this one could just be a little flip out on the page. This one could be a journal card, Yvonne. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, that I could just glue this to a piece of white paper and add some journaling to the back. And this one also feels like it's a little bit floaty, and I'm almost wondering if I want a little envelope attached to the page where I could tuck some things into the envelope where these could go, so that when I sit down to look at this page, I could pull those things out. I think that would work as well. And I love tucking both, actually. Yes, I love tucking things into my journal. Interesting, I tore the top off of this image right here, and it was lying face down or face up on my table, and it has the word bright on it, which again is that idea of light. So it feels like all of these are going to end up, I could do that, Judy, too. You guys have lots of great ideas, but I'm thinking that again, it's a little bit of a separate piece. So I'm going to find an envelope, and I'm going to adhere an envelope to the page that'll just kind of tip in, and it allows me maybe even throughout the year to tuck some of these different images or things that I find as I go along on the journey. And then again, I will do one more spread in my journal here to really capture the what am I doing in my work, because that feels Bright. Yes, bright. Exactly. This or something better. I love there's a lot of light shining. And unintentionally, I picked images that really represent all the different aspects of my mantra of I am light for the year. So I think that's it for today. I will be back on Thursday morning at 7 a.m., still working on schedules for this year. And I have some really fantastic art journaling prompts all about renewal and reinvention coming for January. And I will have all of that ready by Thursday to share with everyone or in my email when it goes out tomorrow. But thanks for joining me for a little fun vision boarding time and a different way of looking at how to really honor, celebrate, and connect to the infinite potential of your vision for the new year. Me too, Judy. It's one of my favorite things that I do, and I'd love to see your vision board. So if you create one, tag me on social or just email it to me, and I'd be happy to celebrate it with you. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and again, a very, very happy new year to each and every one of you. And that glare is crazy. All right, my friends, I will see you guys on Thursday morning. Bye, everybody.